Hello, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be naming my dream team for the last 12 months. It follows the World Rugby Awards earlier this week where they named the men's best 15 essentially for the season. I'm going to go through what my list would be. There's quite a lot of changes in there, 8 different names to the one that made the World Rugby Dream Team. I think some of them you're going to agree on, maybe some not so much. Remember, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and also drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of my team and who would make your men's 15 team of the year. All right, let's get into it. So as I say, there are quite a few differences in my team to the actual World 15 that World Rugby put out on Sunday night, I think it was, with the award show in Monaco. So just to run through their team, the World Rugby Awards, it was Ellis Genge, Malcolm Marx, Tadhg Furlong, Tadhg Beirne, Sam Whitelock, Pablo Matera, Josh van der Flier and Gregory Aldrit for the pack. And then Antoine Dupont, Johnny Sexton, Damien Dialende and Lukhanyo Am, and then a back three of Marika Koroibete, Will Jordan and Freddie Stewart. Now these things are subjective, of course, but I've got quite a few differences in my team of the year. In particular, I think France have massively been snubbed there. When you consider that they won the Six Nations, they did the Grand Slam, they've gone on unbeaten the whole year, they've won every single match that they've played this year. I don't think they have enough representation in there. And then the big one as well is Ardie Savea, which I know a lot of All Blacks fans were pointing out, and a lot of fans of all nations really saying that he should 100% be in that back row. So without further ado, I'll get going. So they had Ellis Genge in the number 1 jersey. I've gone with Cyril Bailly. I think it's pretty close between him and Ellis Genge, but again, when I just consider the year that French team have had, combined with Bailly's performances, how good he's been at scrummaging, how good he's been in the loose as well. I know Ellis Genge brings both of those qualities, but even as an Englishman, I think it's probably fair that Cyril Bailly gets the nod in the front row there. Then they've had Malcolm Marx at hooker. Again, I really like Malcolm Marx. I think he's such a good player. But just when I've watched Julien Marchand for France, he's been unbelievably good. He's brilliant over the breakdown in terms of jackling and stealing the ball. He's a really good ball carrier as well. He's another good ball carrying option in terms of those French forwards. He's surprisingly explosive, fairly low to the ground, low centre of gravity. When he gets that leg drive going, he's very, very difficult to stop. So I'd go Julien Marchand at hooker. And then I'd agree with Tadhg Furlong in the number 3 jersey. Ireland have had a very, very good year themselves. That famous victory over New Zealand, away to New Zealand. I actually think that test series has gone a long way in influencing the awards for World Rugby this year. If you look at Johnny Sexton and Josh van der Flier, both nominated for the Men's Player of the Year award, you look at the Team of the Year as well, I think that series has perhaps been quite heavily weighted in Ireland's favour, and as brilliant an achievement as that was, I think that maybe it does mean that some other guys are missing out. But Tadhg Furlong, I agree with. Into the second row. So the second row in the World Rugby Awards, Tadhg Beirne and Sam Whitelock. I agree with Tadhg Beirne. I think he's been absolutely excellent. A menace at the breakdown. Really good in the line-out. Strong all-round operator. I think he's been very, very good. So I've got no issue with Tadhg Beirne being there. I am going to replace Sam Whitelock, though, and that's for Eben Etzebeth. I know a lot of South African fans, from what I've seen on social media, have been making this point as well. Eben Etzebeth snubbed in terms of the World 15 of the year, and snubbed as well for a nomination for Player of the Year. Lukhanyo Am was nominated as one of the 4 players of the year, and as good as Lukhanyo Am is, I think most of us would agree he probably has had better seasons. I think that maybe that should have been Eben Etzebeth's nomination. I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments, but I just wonder whether Etzebeth is one of those players he's so good and he's so consistently good that people kind of take it for granted. You just get so used to someone operating at that level that people don't tend to necessarily give it the credit that it deserves. So yeah, I'd definitely give Etzebeth a nod there, and I also think he should have been nominated for the World Player of the Year as well. But Tadhg Beirne, Eben Etzebeth, they're my second row. It's a pretty tasty front 5 there. Onto the back row. So they've gone Pablo Matera, Josh van der Flier and Gregory Aldrit. I agree with 2 of those. I think Josh van der Flier, he won the Men's Player of the Year award, given the 4 nominees that were put forward. I agree with that. I would have actually nominated Ardie Savea and probably awarded it to Savea as well. But hey, given that Josh van der Flier was in those nominations with Johnny Sexton, Lukhanyo Am, and my mind completely goes blank now on who the other nomination was. But Josh van der Flier was, for me, head and shoulders above and deservedly won. So Josh van der Flier at 7. Gregory Aldrit I would have at 8, another guy who I think he should have been awarded the Six Nations Player of the Year, which he wasn't. That went to Antoine Dupont. But Gregory Audry has had such a good year for France, been a really consistent performer for them. So I agree with him at number 8 as well. But where I disagree is Pablo Matera at 6. Argentina have had a really good year. They have improved. But I'm just not sure Matera has done enough to warrant getting in that back row, particularly when you consider Ardie Savea. Now, I know Savea normally is an 8, but frankly, I think you could play him anywhere across the back row and he's still going to be as effective. He has a pretty free roam for New Zealand as it is. I wouldn't say he's necessarily hemmed into doing the kind of quote-unquote traditional number 8 work. He pops up all around the field. So I think you could put Ardie Savea at 6. He'd still be absolutely brilliant. And you have to get him into this dream team. You can't put Gregory Audry on the flanks. You can put Ardie Savea, so Ardie Savea for me goes in at 6. So a reminder of my pack: Cyril Bailly, Julian Marchand, Tadhg Furlong, Tadhg Beirne, Eben Etzebeth, Ardie Savea, Josh van der Fleer and Gregory Audry. I personally think that's a pretty good pack. You might have some other nominations or other names you could chuck in there, but I don't think there's too much complaint. But as I say, do let me know down below in the comments. Okay, on to the back line. I personally found this tougher than the forwards. They've gone Antoine Dupont at 9. He was the Six Nations Player of the Year. I actually don't think he's been as good as he has in other years, but I'm kind of struggling to put someone else in. I was tempted by Jamison Gibson-Park. I think he's the one that is closest. He's been really, really good for Ireland at 9, but I'm kind of tempted just to go edge it towards Dupont, purely based upon the Six Nations, really, and the fact they won the Six Nations. He was player of the Six Nations. He's been very, very good. I'm quite happy with Jamison Gibson-Park, and outside of that, I know South Africa tend to rotate their scrum halves a fair bit. There was no one else really. Maybe Aaron Smith could be in that conversation. To me, there was no one obvious that should have definitely been replacing either Dupont or Gibson-Park. I'm going to go with Dupont, but I think it's up for debate between those two guys. Fly half, I am going to go for Johnny Sexton. Upon reflection, when the nominations for the main award was first announced and Johnny Sexton was there, I was kind of questioning it. But looking back at the stats this year, the games that he has missed were the match against France away in the Stade de France in the Six Nations, which Ireland lost, and the first test against New Zealand on that tour, which Ireland lost. When he's played, Ireland have pretty much won. I mean, I know he missed the weekend just gone against Australia and Ireland just snuck over the line, but again, nowhere near as good performance from Ireland. I think it goes to show how important Sexton has been, his influence at 37 on that Ireland team who are still playing such brilliant rugby. So for me, I will go for Johnny Sexton at 10. In the centres, so they've got Damien Dialende and Lacagno-Am. I'm going to stick with Lacagno-Am, even though I actually think he has had better years. I found the centres really difficult. For me, I was kind of struggling. Rather than Damien Dialende at 12, I've gone for Jonathan Danty at 12, which again, I could probably be convinced to change that, but I just felt like he maybe deserved it more than Dialende. I'm sure the Springbok fans will maybe question that. But let me know particularly on the centres, because I actually struggled there. But I've gone Danty and Lacagno-Am. Then my back three, I think I've completely changed my back three from what they have. So they've got Marika Koroibete, Will Jordan and Freddie Stewart. I'm probably being a little unfair on Will Jordan here, but I have got rid of him because I desperately wanted to get these two wingers in, which is Damien Penaud for France and Emiliano Boffelli for Argentina. Penaud, I think, has been utterly class. You look at it again this autumn, he's popping up with tries. He's showing just pure quality. I think he's probably underrated as a winger. He's absolutely sensational. And Emiliano Boffelli has been so key for Argentina. He's kicking their goals, which has been really important in terms of their resurgence. He's popping up with tries as well. He's kind of doing everything. Again, not necessarily a guy that would get the plaudits of some of the more fashionable, maybe the more exciting wingers out there. But I actually think based upon the last 12 months, based upon this year, I think Emiliano Boffelli should be in there. So that's why I've gone for him and Penaud. And then at fullback, they've gone for Freddie Stewart. Freddie Stewart has had a really good year. I just think England have been so poor, and has his performances been so exceptional to make him be the best fullback in the world? I would suggest not. I was tempted to go for Beauden Barrett here. In the end, I've gone for another Frenchman, Melvin Jaminet, who has kind of come out of nowhere in about 18 months. He's been excellent for France. I've been really, really impressed with him in terms of fullback. He kicks the goals for France as well. He's a really good goal kicker. So yeah, I just think he's one of those guys who deserves to be in there. France have had a brilliant year, and his performances have been exceptional as well. So that's my World 15 of the year. My backline: Dupont, Sexton, Danty and Am, Peno Buffelli on the wings, Jaminet at fullback. Do drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. This is completely subjective. What do you make of my World 15? As I say, I struggled more with the backline. The forwards for me was actually quite straightforward. The backline, particularly the centres, I thought was difficult. So drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you could like the video, it'd be greatly appreciated. All right, I'll see you in the next one.